My name's Patrick Madigan. I'm your vice president of the KWYP chapter here in the Triangle, which is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Research Triangle, best college basketball in the world, but we won't talk about that right now. We do these monthly Zoom calls where every month we do a coffee with a mega agent, and usually we're interviewing an individual agent or a team, but an individual who's built a big business. And here we have so much gratitude and so much momentum and energy that we want to share from our annual conference called Family Reunion. So we've got 4 amazing panelists who we're going to hear from shortly. Just want to do a little bit of housekeeping and give you guys some announcements before we get started. We do this monthly, like I said, and our guest next month is going to be Catherine Rain out of Miami, Florida, one of the top agents in the whole state of Florida. Built a crazy business as an individual agent with a lot of leverage and amazing script. So make sure you tune in. It'll be that will be April 7th, I believe, looking at my calendar, but I'll confirm that in a second. Keep an eye on in the Facebook groups. You'll see us publicize all these. And we got some great guests. If you have anyone that you want to hear from, anyone that you think has a lot of value to share on the YP stage, please let me know, DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or email me, patrick@madiganrealty.co, and we'll make sure we get someone on the rotation to be a guest on our monthly series. With that said, if you don't know, YP is the Young Professionals division within Keller Williams. And you're going to hear a lot about YP because it's very intertwined with our experiences at Family Reunion. And if you haven't joined yet, or if you know someone who may want to join, just go to kyp.org. It's super easy. You can pay monthly, you can pay yearly, and it's going to change your life. The mindset and the people you're going to get around is going to blow your mind, especially what you're going to hear in just a little bit. And so with that, we do events all throughout the year. It's not just a Family Reunion. So I'm going to hype up some of the events we've got coming up. In just 2 weeks, Wednesday, the 16th, we have a new KWYP chapter launching in San Diego. So if you need a nice warm escape from Boston or Philly, Brett, I don't know what it's like there, but if you want to get to San Diego, head out there to support that. It's cold, yeah, just like always. We got San Diego launching on March 16th, which is Wednesday, right before St. Patty's Day. Harjot, do you want to tell us about when New York City is launching a YP chapter?
Yeah, so April 7th and 8th, we're super excited. It'll be the actual launch party April 7th evening in Manhattan. We already secured the venue, and then April 8th will probably be at the Manhattan office during the daytime.
Amazing. One of my favorite trips I took last summer was to the KWYP Hudson Valley launch, about an hour outside of Manhattan, but got to meet up with some Manhattan agents, and just the energy, the activity there is awesome. So I'm going to make sure I make that one. We got Megan here as well, who's going to tell us about the KW chapter launch after that in Florida coming up in May. So Megan, tell us what market that's in.
Yeah, so we're KWYP Space Coast. We are where Kennedy Space Center is, NASA, all that good stuff. So our chapter launch is going to be May 13th through 15th. And it's ultimately going to be a 3-day event. It's going to be super awesome. It's called The Mission. So we're definitely taking that space theme and running with it. Day 1 is going to be 3, 2, 1 liftoff. Day 2 is going to be to the moon. And day 3 is going to be mission complete. So there's definitely more details to come, and I'll keep everybody posted. Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Make sure you hit that Florida one. And if there's ever a chapter that can use the term launch, it's definitely you guys. So it's like way too perfect. We've got a regional event coming up. So the first 3 we mentioned were chapter launches, but we also have a Southeast region event in Nashville on June 3rd and 4th. So we're going to have education, mastermind, social, all the great things about YP is going to be going on in Nashville. And then later on in Raleigh, we have the first Carolinas region. We're happy to host it in Raleigh. It's going to be October 7th and 8th. So unless you have like a wedding to go to that you already know about, none of you guys have excuses. You all better come to Raleigh, come celebrate with us, learn, give big hugs. We're going to have a blast. Last housekeeping thing before we go, dig into the content. We just yesterday, the finalists were announced for the NAR, National Association of Realtors 30 under 30. We've got a few people maybe who are on this call right now, but we've got a few folks in KW, I believe 9, and I know at least 6 of them are members of YP. Now, 30 under 30, all of them are eligible for YP because the cutoff is 40 for YP. So they should all be members of YP. But please find those people in the YP Facebook group. You're going to see a lot of posts about it. Support them, vote for them. You can vote once per day. Let's make sure we show them the love and get the gratitude and the recognition they deserve as being awesome agents. So with that said, we're going to dig in. You guys ready? This room filled up quick. We got 32 people here. Please feel free to go on to your stories. I posted on my story at Padigan. You can reshare. Go to the KWYP Triangle link and just text it to whoever you want, and make sure they can come in if they're here, maybe on their lunch break, and get some great content. So we're going to start the way I see them on the screen. Harjot, you are right here at the top. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us just real briefly, like how long have you been in the business, what market you serve, and maybe what your top 2 or 3 lead gen strategies are for you. How have you built your business?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So happy everyone is on. Thank you. My name is Harjot Gournayer. I am out of the New York City Manhattan office. and Westfield in New Jersey. So it's like northern central Jersey, right outside of New York. I've been in the business for 6 years, but I always joke that the first 3 years were kind of whatever. So it's really almost 3 years. I've also only been with Keller for 3 years, so maybe those go hand in hand. And then lead gen sources, top 2 to 3. Referrals, that includes Keller referrals actually, and KWYP, since I've joined almost over a year ago now, has actually started to account for a larger portion of that. Open house leads and SOI. And I just got a MAPS coach, so I'm working to expand on my lead gen sources and be better. But yeah, so far that's been doing good for me. Oh, Patrick, come back. You're muted.
That was a noob mistake. I've hosted plenty of these. I should know to unmute. Thank you, Harjot. We're going to move on to Brandon. What's up, man? Tell us about yourself. How long have you been in the business and your top 2 or 3 business building strategies?
Awesome. Thank you. So my name is Brandon Thompson. I am a Central Florida native. I have been licensed for 5 years, but just like my job in New York, I really don't count until I joined KW, which was about 3.5 years ago. My top 3 lead generation sources, or top 2, I would say, are SOI and agent-to-agent referrals. And then starting up, we're really kind of like jump-started my business with social media in conjunction with open houses, but I don't do them anymore. Don't find much pleasure in them. But yeah, and thank you for allowing me some grace. I am feeling a little bit congested, so please bear with me if you can't understand.
Absolutely, man. We can hear you loud and clear. We're glad that you're here. Devaney, how are you this morning?
Hello. Hey, I'm good. I'm Devaney Roberts. I am actually representing the West Coast here. I am right outside of San Francisco. I'm about 20 minutes east of San Francisco. And I've been in the business for about 4 years. I've been a licensed agent for about 3.5. I was an admin right before that. And my top lead gen sources are going to be social media, agent to agent referrals, a lot with YP for sure, and then sphere of influence as well.
I love it. We're going to round out our introductions with Mr. YP of the year. Brett, what's up, man?
How's it going, Patrick? First, thank you for having me on. Love the opportunity to pour into everybody else, whether you were at Family Reunion or not. My name is Brett Campbell. I'm outside the Philadelphia area, and I have been licensed since 2016, but I'm 3rd generation in real estate, so I kind of grew up in the business. Basically, my whole family lives, breathes, eats real estate. When it comes to my lead gen sources, I've been very intentional about making my business very relationship based. So just like everybody else who went, sphere of influence and agent to agent referrals have been huge for me, especially in the last 2 years. And I'm finally jumping in to like leverage social media a little bit better this year.
Awesome. You'll notice a trend that agent-agent referrals are a huge part of all of our businesses, and part of that's the magic of YP. Even if there's already someone else with YP in your market, there's enough to go around, and there's enough gratitude and just stuff for us to all learn. So Brett, yeah, thanks for that, man. And quick shout out for Brett. At Family Reunion, 2 important things happened. One, he won YP of the year, which is every year we vote on awards, and the finalists are announced right before Family Reunion, and then each category we vote on the winners. And so that's another amazing reason to come to Family Reunion, is that you get to be there when these things are announced. And Katie, who's on Zoom, was freaking out. It was so great. Katie's here. And the other important thing that happened that same morning, or that I think it was that day, Brett, was it when Connor turned 1, the same day that you won YP of the year? So shout out to Brett for first year of fatherhood. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, super cute pictures too. All right, guys, we're gonna dig into this. I want to hear first a rapid fire question. What is like one essential item that you have to bring to Family Reunion, whether you brought it or whether you wish you had? Harjot, what you got?
Battery pack for your
Battery
phone.
pack. Awesome. Yeah. What else? What else you guys have? You can just popcorn it.
Honestly, I hate business cards, and this Popple that I got pre-Family Reunion, game changer for me.
Yeah, tell them what Popple is if someone doesn't know. And
so Popple's
too.
Yeah, Popple, Link, Dot, they're all electronic business cards. And the Popple, what I like about it is it just attaches to the back of your phone, and you touch it to the back of someone else's, and it automatically downloads your contact info in there, and it's got a lead gen opportunity on it. So I was able to collect a ton of people's contacts to be able to connect post-Family Reunion.
That's awesome. If someone could drop that in the comments, that'd be great. Either a link or just the name of it. Brandon, what's an essential item for you at Family Reunion?
Airborne. You're not sleeping a lot. You're getting in contact with a lot of people. Make sure you met up.
Yes, airborne is the immunity stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Devaney.
I'm gonna cheat and do two things. So number one is a
Yeah.
water bottle. Like, please drink water, people. And then my Remarkable. It was a lifesaver for me to just have that to carry
Oh, yeah.
around.
Yeah, that's that iPad that looks like paper, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. Those things are so cool. Awesome. So let me ask you this. What does it mean to go to family reunion specifically as a YP member? You guys can jump in however you want.
Can you repeat the question? What was that? I'm sorry.
What does it mean especially if you've been to family reunion before you joined YP like I did, what does it mean to go to family reunion as a YP member? How does that make a difference if you're there with access to the YP network?
For me, I'll go ahead and jump in first. So my first, I jumped into the Kool-Aid relatively quickly when I came into KW World. So I went to family reunion my first year in, and I didn't join YP until my second family reunion, right before it. Kayla Bundy, she told me to go ahead and jump on, and it didn't really click. You know, because Gary Keller always says, like, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to take a plane to see your friends, right? And in having this core group of people who are highly motivating, like-minded, who are just having amazing businesses, but most importantly, they're just quality human beings. Family reunion actually feels like a family reunion. Right. So as a YP, you have your people that you're going to. Like I saw Devani and we went out to the parks, and it just feels so great to be able to connect with such like-minded people that I feel like some of the people like Alexis, who's down in South Florida, we were like, oh my God, this is the first time we're meeting in person, actually, because we've been on so many Zoom calls together. And I was like, wow, that's actually crazy. So I would say definitely as you're joining a family, really, of like-minded individuals who really are going to change the trajectory of your life.
Brandon,
Yeah,
I think you and I, oh, go ahead, Brett.
No, go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say, I think Brandon and I had almost identical stories. My first family reunion was in 2018, and I went and didn't know anyone really. And I just kind of hung out with people from my market center, which is great. But that's a really expensive way to hang out with people on the other side of the country. And then in 2020, I joined YP like 2 weeks before family reunion, and it overwhelmed with how many people I met. And then this year, 2 years later, with the world shut down, all these people I hadn't seen in so long, and so many people I've seen online, it was the first time the family reunion term clicked for me. Like, this is why we call it family reunion. So I love that, Brandon. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm going to mimic the both of you, but I had been to 6 KW events prior to this family reunion. That's in between family reunion and mega camp over the last couple of years. And this is the first time that I was really able to take advantage, because I joined KWYP March 16th, 2020, literally the day before the world shut down. And Pennsylvania was horrible. I mean, we couldn't do in-person activities for 5 months. So I literally sat in my house on Zoom with people that I was finally able to meet in person at family reunion. Completely changed my life in regards to getting involved in YP, and then being able to actually spend time and get to know them on an even deeper level in person just up the ante for me. That's why YP will always have like a special place in my heart, for the fact that they got me through the pandemic, honestly.
Wow, that's amazing. Harjit, Devaney?
I completely agree. This was actually my first family reunion. So I kind of came in with like eyes wide open, was like, what am I going to get myself into? And it was amazing. Patrick saw me kind of hit a little bit of a wall, but like after that first, like, because it's a lot, right? When you're going to family reunion and you don't know anybody. And I was very purposeful and not hanging out with anybody that I knew. And that was the best decision I could have made, because I was able to connect with all of these people on the East Coast, everybody kind of in the middle of the States. And it was just incredible. And now I'm here chatting with you guys, and it was the most incredible experience ever. And I'm very glad that I had YP to plug into, because the conversations that I had too at family reunion were next level. Like, there was no small talk. We went straight into like the deep stuff. And I feel like that's something that YP brings, is just a next caliber of humans and business owners.
Yeah. What Devaney, oh, sorry, Patrick.
No, it's great.
I was going to echo exactly what Devaney said at the end. I agree with it wholeheartedly. The conversations. So like family reunion, there's a lot to take in, and it's all really important and good stuff. by all means. But it's like the conversations that happen in between, not just a relationship building, but even absorbing what you're learning is really what takes you and like the actual masterminding effect to the next level. And doing that with the folks that, like Megan put it in the chat, like tribe, like it's 100%, it's all tribe. And it's tribe in like from the perspective of people you feel like you can trust, people you feel like you can relate with, people who are also even more intelligent than you are, you can learn from, who are willing to share. I always joke that like Keller, so coming into Keller, like culture shock, right? Like everybody's like very welcoming. There's a huge emphasis on culture and this and that. And then coming into YP was a whole other level of culture shock because people are literally just putting their businesses into Facebook, the Facebook group. And they're like, here's my Google Drive, take whatever you like. And it's like, what? And that's what like Family Reunion really was too. It was everybody was just sharing everything. And you really left feeling just the most empowering you ever could.
Yeah, it's very true. It is very overwhelming. And like Devaney said, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Granted, she was also doing 75 hard. So I think you had a little bit of extenuating circumstances on why you hit your wall, probably the hour and a half of working out every day, which I was definitely not doing while I was there.
That and the 3-hour time difference, it got me.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of good extenuating circumstances. You catch a break. But the reality is Family Reunion is whatever you make of it. You could go and have one conversation that changes your life and then sleep the rest of the time, and that could make it worth it. Speaking of that, I want to get into what are some of the nuggets that are lingering with you. It doesn't have to be your favorite quote of the entire thing, but maybe what's a quote or a conversation that you had or a breakout session you heard? What is sticking with you guys when you reflect on Family Reunion 2 weeks later?
I wrote it down. It was while this was happening. This was from Sean Akers' presentation. Happiness is not the destination, it's the journey. And that to me was it was a big thing because I think all of us have been feeling all sorts of pressures and things that we never have been able to understand before, and kind of putting that back into perspective, and especially with the weekend the way that it was a good reminder.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll expand on that because honestly, the two best sessions that I went to were the advance with Jason's portion for KWYP and the keynote, which in my opinion, if you've been to other events with KW, that's the best keynote they've ever had, at least in the last 6 years that I've been going to events. And one of the things that really stood out for me from Sean was happiness is not an individual sport. And we continually have a mindset of, I will be happy when we sell 10 million in volume, or we clean the dishes, or whatever it might be. And you're always chasing that endpoint that is always ever expanding. So you need to really change your mindset on how to be happy and really include others in that mission. And then outside of that, when it comes to Jason, he shared Gary's questions that he asks himself every year. And the one that really stood out to me is the who are you question. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to the advance, Megan just shared all the questions, which is awesome. And there's rules when it comes to the who are you question. You're not allowed to answer, I'm a realtor, I'm a mom, I'm a dad. You have to actually break it down and understand who you are so that you can actually get to where you're going. And for example, Gary's answer to that question is, I am a spiritual being having a physical experience. So those are the two things that really, really stood out to me.
How powerful is that? Like, how many real estate companies have the founder telling you, you got to figure out your identity first. You got to figure out who you are. None of this matters. You're going to get burned out. You're going to pursue the wrong opportunities if you don't know why you're doing it. What's the why? What's that foundation? I love that.
When we focus on the result, not the mindset that it takes to get there. And I'm really working on changing my opinion on all of that, or my mindset towards that. So it really stood out to me.
Yeah. Brandon, what's sticking with you? I don't know if Brandon, you're on mute, buddy.
My bad. I'm sorry, guys. For me, I would say definitely coming to the realization and the conversations having with other YPers. I remember talking specifically with Tara, and we had a really in-depth conversation and like diving deep into like my business structure and kind of like what's the missing piece. And I realized I had an extreme leverage problem, right? And coming to terms of how, you know, where my business is right now, if I'm wanting to, because I'm feeling very uncomfortable, and that's where growth happens, right? And pulling in these long hours, but I need to invite that who person into it. And then also, I had many conversations about, because I actually was really about to hire somebody and have that extreme leverage. But at the end of the day, I had a conversation with Kimberly Davis. I don't know if anybody, she's not in YP, but she's over in Texas area. She's a woman that's so wise beyond her years. And we were having a conversation about if you're looking to build a big business, right? You really need to master having the hiring process, right? And what I'm drawing a blank. What is the colorism for the hiring process? Career visioning.
Career visioning. Yeah.
There we go.
It's a great class you can find.
Yes. So really mastering career visioning is because it's really about the who, because I'm like all of the panels, it's really who's the person, because you cannot succeed alone, especially if you're wanting to grow a business, or even if you just wanted to have a really productive business. It's who it's really is the most important aspect. So really becoming a master in that is something that I took away from Family Reunion.
Just out of curiosity, do you remember where those conversations were with Tara and I forget the other person you mentioned?
So Tara, it was actually at the YP social.
Okay.
We had a good conversation.
At Marlowe's Tavern.
At Marlowe's Tavern.
Yeah, where it's like packed shoulder to shoulder, and here you guys are talking deep about your business and your life. Like, I love that. That's awesome, man. We're not just out partying, like we're changing lives and changing each other's lives too. It's not just our clients. So that's awesome. And then the other conversation, where was that one?
That was actually during Family Reunion. And so
yeah, I love it. The YP Lounge was awesome this year. I don't know if we've had that in years past, but it was a dedicated room. And like, you know, when everyone's in the main concourses and the lines are like 30 or 40 people deep for water bottles and coffee in the morning, because YPers do like to hang out late at night sometimes on occasion. The YP Lounge had free coffee and water with no line, and couches and music. And we had big maps, thanks to Cami of the US, and everybody was pinning their business cards up. So Brett, paper business cards are good for something still sometimes. But how cool is that YP Lounge? Like, what a gift to YPers that it's such a cool space. I had great conversations there. Met someone who has family from my small hometown, which blew my mind. And so, yeah, the YP magic was alive in the lounge. Devaney, what's sticking with you as an interaction or a quote that you took home from Family Reunion?
I kind of had two. So one was spoken by Sarah Reynolds. It was in one of her breakout sessions, and something that I'm being super purposeful about this year is relationships and building relationships and strengthening relationships, not just on the client side, but also on, like, I want to strengthen relationships with people who are much further along in the business, so I can look to them and grow my business and myself to, you know, kind of reach that next level. And she said that your network is your net worth. And that just clicked for me. I had never heard that before. And then it kind of relates to something back about what Jason Abrams was saying at the YP advance. And I may butcher what he actually said, but it said that the path of meeting the next group of 5. So we all know that quote of having, you know, your business or your life is only going to be as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with, the closest 5 people. But your 5 people are going to be looking for their next 5 people. So you should be looking towards your next 5 people, right? It's always kind of like this, I don't want to say a chase, but it's always, because you're always growing. As human beings, we're supposed to grow. And so we're always growing, and we're all growing in different directions. So it's always finding those next 5 people. And that was just something that hit me as well, and kind of related back to the network is your net worth.
Devaney, I want to dig in on that for a second. Do you have any actionable steps that you've identified that you might be able to take to find your 5 or your next 5?
That's actually a really good question, because I have been searching for my 5. And I have actually, I had a good group of 5 up until like very recently. And then I kind of did a shift in my business, and now I'm looking for those next 5. So I have been purposeful. Actually, my MAPS coach is connecting me to somebody who I think is going to be somebody in that 5. Still looking for about 4 others though. So
Nice.
yeah,
All right,
as far
guys.
as actionable.
Devony's taking auditions. Send your tapes.
Yes, please.
Sure.
I would love to connect.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I love that. Did you guys have a goal going into family reunion? I want to focus on these breakout sessions about luxury, or I want to meet 100 agents. And if you did you hit it? And how did you prep for that? How do you go about it? Because when I show up to family reunion, I'm like, oh my God, there's a million opportunities. There's so many parties to go to, like happy hour parties, breakouts. How did you guys have a goal, and how did you execute that? So Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, my goal was simple. My goal was to pay for family reunion. So big Kitty Breck is like, let me get my one referral. And I did that on the second day. So I was able to kind of really just enjoy. And then got multiple referrals afterwards. But yeah, that was just my goal. I was like, listen, I'm intentional. I'm going to network. I'm going to go ahead because I live in Orlando and it's in Orlando. So come on.
Hometown hero. How did you get the referral? Did it just kind of come naturally? Someone, oh, you're from here. I need to send a referral to you.
Actually, it was through YP. This is a kind of, if you post on like YP or any other like the bigger referral group pages and things of that nature, a lot of the referrals come through like a personal connection. Like if it's like, oh, hey, Brand, especially for you like those big referral groups and they're tagging you, I'm like, I don't even try anymore. But it's those direct messages. So actually, Darnell connected me to somebody he was mutually friends with, and we were able to have a conversation, set up, and did all of that. So
shout out Darnell, the GOAT. That's awesome. Who else had a goal going into family reunion, and how'd you do with it?
So I had 2 goals. One was in previous family reunions and mega camps, I was all over the place. I tried to be master of everything when it came to going to breakout sessions and just trying to absorb everything. And it's physically impossible, right? There's been many references to drinking from a fire hose at these events because there's just so much and you can't possibly implement all of it. And my intention this year was to focus on what's on my GPS, which was agent-to-agent referrals, sphere of influence, and social media, right? Those are my 3 priorities when it comes to my 135. And those are the only breakouts that I attended when it comes to building my business. And I stuck to it. It's the first time that I was intentional about what I was going to. And I'm very glad that I did that because I got a lot of great nuggets to take back and implement in my business. And on top of that, I wanted to add 50 agents to my referral network. And I was able to get to 52. So making connections with 52 new agents that I did not previously have a connection with. And I'm going through and doing my follow-up with them now just to reestablish that relationship.
I love that. That's awesome. And I was actually going to ask you this, and I see your wonderful partner, Katie Beck, dropped it in the comments. For anyone who's not familiar with GPS or 411 or a 135, can you give us a 30-second snippet on that?
Katie, do you want to take it or do you want me to?
Yeah, Katie, come on up.
Sure. So all of those are basically like your roadmap, right? So it's intentionally choosing the things you're going to focus on and then how you're going to do them. It's eliminating all excuses ahead of time. So the 135 is the one main goal, the 3 ways you're going to hit it, and then the 5 actionable items per way, so that you don't even have to think. This is your game plan. You just roll in, you follow what the piece of paper says, and you hit your goals. Jeff, the baby is fussing at me right now, so it's not a good look. 411 GPS are pretty much the same. It's just a way to keep focused on your goals.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just when you go into the office in the morning, what are you doing today? Are you going to spend 3 hours on Facebook? Are you going to spend 8 hours doing an open house? No, you're going to look at your 411, your GPS. And GPS stands for goals, priorities, strategies, I think, right? Or steps. So
Yes.
it's the 135. What's the one goal? What are the 3 priorities within that goal? And then what are the 5 actionable steps you're going to focus on to execute that week or that day, or even for the next hour if it's a time block? So thanks, Brett. That's awesome. And having a specific GPS, you don't have to do a GPS for the entire year or a 135. You can literally do a 135 for family reunion or for the San Diego launch in mid-March or the New York launch in early April. So just going to drop those hints because we're going to pack the house for these events. That's awesome. Who else had a goal going into family reunion? I think Devony and Harjut, we haven't heard from yet.
My goal was to have 3 purposeful conversations with team owners who are running their team like how I want to, because I'm in team building phase right now. So I had 6 purposeful conversations, so we went way over, but I'm super glad that I did. And now I have those amazing team owners. I have them as, great referral partners. And then again, somebody to look to and ask questions and kind of bounce off of. So I'm super grateful for that.
Awesome.
Mine was, so the overarching goal was just to be present. Like I knew I was going to have a good time. I have not, I think Brett had actually said this earlier. I had not met any YPer yet, right? Because I joined during the lockdown and all that. So it was just to be present, be there for KWYP and just soak everything in, and everything else would be secondary to that. And then under that, though, a little bit more like actionable items was to come out with 3 solid referrals, inbound or outbound. The second was to really gravitate towards sessions or conversations that are helping me further my one thing for the year and really strengthen that motivation. And then the third was to learn something, like learn about somebody's business that I know nothing about. So like, especially that really goes towards people who are like in the investing commercial business, particularly.
Yeah.
Like a gentleman out of like Texas who only does hotels, right? Never.
Yeah.
In the, so something like that. Yeah, Jeff.
Texas. Speaking of Texas, we got Jeff here, who not only posted a sample of his GPS from 2022 in the comments. So click that PDF to download it. Jeff, I saw you all set the hand raise icon up. Did you have another question you wanted to ask? You're on mute. Yeah, no, you got the little hand raise icon.
Antonio got here. Jeffrey got moving out to Ryan Bright. Kellen's River Cities in the house. I was actually just going to ask Brett for the GPS that it mentioned. Is that specifically for KWYP or is that for your business?
That was actually for my 2022 business plan. And I strategically picked those because that's where 80% of my business last year came from sphere of influence or agent-to-agent referrals. And I can attribute 28,000 in GCI just to KWYP referrals, which is phenomenal. So if you're not tracking your numbers, definitely do. And if you ever have a question about your KWYP membership, it will be solved just in that. And social media is something that I have never been very intentional about. It's not something that I have ever been comfortable with. I've never really been put all that stuff out there in regards to the social sphere, and something I really wanted to become intentional about over this entire year. And I just utilized Family Reunion as a leg to get a step up on it.
That's awesome. And anyone else too, if you have a question, feel free to use the hand raise icon. I'll try to keep an eye on that. Or if you don't want to be on screen or on camera, just drop it in the comments. We'll be happy to ask those kind of toward the end here. So I think we hit everyone there. I want to ask you guys, how do you balance and prioritize all the competing opportunities? Because I know Brett and Devaney and I are also members of KWSE. Brett, I'm a little offended that the Orlando event at the soccer stadium wasn't your highlight. No, I'm just kidding. But we had a great time, and there's all sorts of opportunities to go to. How do you guys pick and choose what you're going to do? How you're going to split your time while you're there at the conference? Brett, you want to go forward since I called on you?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, that KWSE event was one of the best networking events that I attended at a family reunion or mega camp, especially because it was so small and close knit. And the balance really came down to, I made sure to make the divisions that I was a part of my priority. KWYP, obviously, because the level of conversations inside, just being in the room with those people, this tribe, as Megan put it, really changes your perspective on a lot of things. And when it comes to KWSE and being part of that division, I really just wanted to dive in. So, since it's so new, I knew I had to really show up and plug in to understand the purpose and the value behind it. And Family Reunion was an opportunity to understand that at a really high level. And that was just my focus, really plugging into the divisions that I'm a part of and trying to give back to them as much as possible.
And there's only going to be more divisions. There's KW Military, KW New Homes. If you're a member of Luxury, I mean, so there's so much to do there. So at a certain point, you just have to know you can't do it all. Harjot, did you have a strategy on how to pick and choose what you attended, and also when to rest too? Because we got to prioritize. I took a few naps while I was there. So how did you survive family reunion?
Really got to plan the logistics around that. And this was the first time I've ever been here or even to a family reunion. So learned a few things for next time. But I went in with, 50% of all my 50, maybe 60% would have been my KWYP efforts. And then well, let's call it 50%. And then like 25% was going to be KW luxury. And I was careful where, when definitely take time out prior to going to family reunion to schedule out your weekend, and then put in as many buffers in between, because you definitely do get a lot of like conversations that organically come up and you want to make space for that. But like KW luxury, for instance, I only chose to go to the mastermind, not the reception, because I wanted to go somewhere else during the time of the reception and stuff like that. So 25% was KW luxury. I'd say like 15% was KW mastery. I just joined like a few weeks ago. So I recognized I probably don't have as much to soak in just yet. And I could, I'll learn more from some of the other things, and that's okay. You don't have to do it all. And there's mega camp in August anyway. And then the remainder, I don't know what the math is, what 5%, 10%, whatever it is like my market center stuff. I like showed up for like a few photos here and there, and then I was like, okay, bye. And that was it.
Find out when the open bar portion of the events is, and then you can, no, I'm just kidding. I know a lot of people do that. They'll be, oh, this one starts at 6 and that one starts at 8. I can do both.
That is it.
Yeah, so it's not just the event, but be strategic. Often it's the open bar portion, not just because of the alcohol, but because of that's when people are mingling and you can have short, quick conversations, versus a seated dinner. It can often be much more restrictive, and you might save them money if you don't go to the dinner. But in terms of the conversations you have, so think strategically about that. Devaney, Brandon, do you guys have any priorities for how you prioritize stuff?
I will go because my answer will be short. I did not prioritize very well at all. This was my first family reunion. I'm like, let's do all the things. Let's meet all the people. And as an introvert, 3 hours ahead of my normal time, and also on 75 hard, I literally hit a wall. Patrick saw me, like the life was probably like falling from my face. But what was okay was that I went home and I just rested. I still had to get in my second workout, which sucked, but I still rested. And for those of you who don't know what 75 Hard, it's like a mental toughness program. And then for KWS and E, KW Sports and Entertainment, that was a fantastic event. I wish I would have been a little bit more lively for that event, because that's the event that I went home early for. But it was still fantastic. Like I still went, I still was able to be there for about an hour, hour and a half. And then I was okay to go home early because my body was just saying no. So for anybody who like hits your wall, don't push past it, because you still typically will have a couple of days post your wall hitting, and it's okay. So next time I will definitely prioritize a little bit more. I'll prioritize YP and sports and entertainment for sure, and be okay with saying no to other things.
I love it.
Ooh, not on mute. Alrighty.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for me, I would say I definitely, being home, there's a little bit of a temptation to kind of get into work and into the business. So that it was the first time it was in my home city. And I definitely was not as present as I wanted to be in some of the events, right? But also, I think KWRI does a good job in all of the other groups, because you have SE, you have luxury, you have, YP, you have the other historically marginalized communities like DEI communities and things of that nature that are all running. And they do a pretty good job of like stacking them and making sure that they don't really conflict. So like I knew like for Sunday, for example, we had the YP that was first, and it was bleeding into another one. But I knew my audience for the other one. It was a historically marginalized community. So I showed up a little bit late because I figured most people would show up a little bit late. And I was correct. I was correct. So yes, it's knowing your audience, and it also KWRA does a really good job of making sure that you're able to kind of attend. If you're wanting to go to every single event, you can probably break it up and go to half at one, half to the other.
Yeah, that's awesome. What does it look like when you guys get home? How do you process, download everything? How do you implement? I know obviously being on a session like this is helpful because it forces you to kind of get your thoughts together, but how do you process, and how do you how would you recommend someone else, like mentor them on if they're struggling with all the information they got at family reunion?
I'll go first on this one. So many of you that know me know that I can be a very personal person. I can be outgoing. I don't mind talking to people in the room. And yet, if you're familiar with the DISC, my eye is not very high. When it comes to going to an event, when it comes to going to something like family reunion, I become very adaptive and push my eye or my interpersonal outgoingness through the roof. And when I come home, I am drained. So literally the first 2 days being back home, I did nothing but spend time with my family. I know there was business to get back to. I know that there were notes to go over, and I needed to really sit down and process and kind of decompress, because your mental health is really important when coming back from something like this. You're spending a week away from your business, you're spending a week away from home, you're spending a week away from your family, and you really need to refocus on what the reason for going to that event was. And that was to provide a better life for my family. And I needed to really plug into them so that I could rejuvenate that drive.
Yeah. How cool would it be to, family reunion is a 4-day. What if you just booked your calendar where like family reunion is 5 days for me, but that day 5 is just a self-care day with my family. That way, if you have leverage, they know not to make appointments. You don't accidentally schedule something. How many times have I thought, oh, I'll take the day off after family reunion, and then a listing appointment pops up and I text them from Orlando. Oh yeah, great. I'll be home Tuesday. I'll meet you Wednesday morning. You're still exhausted. You still have so much to process. So Brett, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Harjat, how do you unwind and process and decompress?
Yeah, I screwed that whole thing up. So like I may have done like a meeting on planning for the family reunion. I was like half proud of myself, but I totally screwed up the post trip part. I had a closing that was scheduled for the morning after. So like walk through 8 a.m., blah, blah, and it got pushed to, I guess, to good. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's still closing. But then I filled the day with more work, right? So it was like, I was so pumped, and I just thought that I had all this energy and all that. I did try to take I got back Tuesday at, I don't know, like 4 p.m. So I was like, all right, I'll just take the whole evening off and that's enough, and it was not. And I'm really feeling it actually now, like 1 week later, because those first few days I did have a lot of energy from family reunion, and then I'm like burning out right now. So definitely do, I would say, a full, if not 2 days. And again, I think we were saying this before the call started, we're not used to traveling so much right now and being around so many people. So like, again, fine, lessons learned, we don't know that, but that COVID post effect, tiredness, whatever, was very real. So definitely, I would definitely do this for mega camp regardless. I'm going to take like a whole day off right after just to settle back in, and even start up later after that.
Yeah, I love that. It's not just the day after or the day after that. It could be a week later that you might feel it. If you're a high I like me, you come off a conference like that and you're ready to go. You got the energy level that sustains you. You still got the high, and then the crash might be more delayed. Whereas an introvert or someone who's more of a high D, that may be more of an immediate thing. So just because you feel good 2 or 3 days later, make sure you're still pacing yourself. That's awesome. And if you're not familiar with the DISC, by the way, it's DISC. It's a very basic personality assessment tool, which is great. If you're in our market, our YP chapter is actually hosting a DISC seminar on Tuesday, March 29th. Or if you want to come into Raleigh that afternoon and spend a day with us and do a DISC in the afternoon, we'll do some cool stuff afterwards. Let me know. We'll come hang out with some YPers. We have a great airport, really easy to get in and out. So yeah, Devaney, Brandon, how do you guys decompress and implement so you can then prepare to implement?
I think I'll go. I think, well, on the way home, because I had such a long flight, I was super adamant about going through all of my notes and then picking just one action item that I would do before that next week was over. So I did that, which was great. And I texted my maps coach, and then I just went silent for, it was like 3 days, because I was pretty exhausted. And it was okay. My business was okay. Everything was okay. I spent some time I'm a big gardener. I spent some time in my garden, came home, played with my dog, my partner and I went for a long walk. It was good. And yet I still was feeling pretty exhausted this last week. So just knowing that it's okay, that it takes some time to get back into it. Because this week I'm let's freaking go. We are ready. So I was super excited that the energy levels are back, but Yeah, definitely agree with what everyone said. Like, take some time after, or else you will definitely hit like a rock bottom. And it's okay. Like, it's just, especially like what Harjot was saying, like with COVID, we're not used to being in that environment maybe as we used to be. And so it's okay to take some time, and like your business will be okay, guys. It'll be all right. Everything will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon?
Yeah, for me, I think a lot of us come off of these family reunions and it's so much knowledge, so much everything. I utilize tools. So one of the tools I utilize is Otter, where I try to be a little bit more present and just actually listening to it. And then what you should be doing, and what I need to be doing, and what everybody probably should be doing a little bit better, is we're not lacking execution, we're lacking in the plan to execute, right? So it's actually time blocking a time where you're coming back, where you're looking over your notes, where you're looking over or if you have Audible and you're needing to kind of listen to the sessions over again, and then taking the key parts, right? It's actually taking that time to take a step back and look over everything and see what part do you want to go ahead and implement into your business, because it means nothing at the end of the day if you're going in and you got all these ideas if you don't implement it and take action going forward, because you're just wasting your time. And obviously you're meeting people and having a good time, but really, how are you going to utilize your time wisely so you can focus on growth and how you can implement that into your business?
Justin Myers just mentioned in the chat, another accidental way to hack this is just book the wrong flight for a day later. And then you have an extra day in your hotel with room service and organize your notes and plan, make your plan before you come home. So yeah, just go ahead and do it while it's fresh on your mind. Strike while the iron's hot, I believe they say. I want to encourage anyone, popcorn's style, we're going to unmute. Feel free to unmute and ask a question of any of our panelists in general or a specific person if you'd like. And then what I want to hear lastly, panelists, you guys can be thinking about this. Why should someone go to family reunion, and why should someone join YP? If they're on the fence, if they're new maybe and they don't have as much budget to lead with revenue, just give us your thoughts on that. So does anyone have questions they want to ask before we close out?
I will.
Yeah, Katie, what's up?
Okay, so y'all shared your best nuggets from your from the breakouts, from the keynote. What was the best personal nugget or inspiration that you got from somebody? Not business related, family, life, fun, whatever, but what was your best personal nugget?
So not a personal nugget, but personal interaction. One of the people that I was fortunate enough to meet at Family Reunion is Michael Heisenbuttel. And Megan, I know you know him. You're going to be in your chapter. And he is, for lack of a better word, like a rock star. He's 20 years old. He's extremely driven. He has a grasp on things that, looking back, I'm now 30. I wish I had 10 years ago. And I just can't wait to see what the next 10 years looks like to him or for him. So really just having the ability to meet him thanks to KWYP was just an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome, Brad. Michael's the bomb. A lot of love for Michael in the group chat right now. Who else had a personal interaction or something that maybe just touched your life, not so much your business?
I will go. I met the OP for the Dominican Republic. Her name's Cheryl. She's amazing. And she's like the OP for all of the Dominican Republic. I'm like, that's amazing. And I got to sit next to her on a bus on my way to Epcot for a MAPS coaching event. And it was really cool to just talk to her. And she had this energy about her that she was just so fierce about her people, not even in just like strictly a business sense, but also for like her life, her people, like her family. I got to FaceTime with her grandkids. Like, it was the cutest thing ever. And it was just so refreshing to meet somebody with that type of energy. And it was just lovely. She just had the biggest, bubbliest, like, I don't know, aura around her. So that was something that I got, and it kind of just made me happy to sit next to her.
I love that. Brandon, Harjot?
For me, I had a connection. I actually met somebody they did something that totally blew my mind. It doesn't take anything extra, but she went through one of the referral groups, and I was so blown away. She actually sent me a handwritten note for a referral opportunity for one of her clients. And I was just blown away at the level of just thoughtfulness of like actual time. I think the thing that like why I love handwritten notes is because it's time, right? Because money is one thing, but if you can invest your time into anybody, that's time is your most valuable resource. So the fact that somebody actually spent the time, and it was a long card too, with a lot of information about the client, and to be able to meet her in person. It's the Harpo Property Group over in the Carolinas. That was a great connection, because I was just like, oh my goodness, just this alone, I think you're amazing. And then meeting her in person, I was just like, oh my God, you're absolutely phenomenal. So.
This is going back to Devaney's. Devaney, is this Cheryl?
Yeah.
That's
I
Cheryl?
barely see it, but I think so.
On a
Yeah, that's
billboard,
her. She's the
Punta
OP.
Cana.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I went to Punta Cana in January, and like I got out of the airport and I'm on the highway, like going to my hotel, and there's nothing but KW billboards. And it's all Cheryl. And I was like, what? I was like, I got away from real estate. What do you mean?
Can I just say, sorry, Harjot, I don't want to interrupt you, but we're also bringing YP to the Dominican Republic now. I connected her and Cami, so they're starting a chapter like ASAP. Super excited.
Amazing.
I want to
Now
buy
that chapter launch is one that we all need to go to, because that sounds amazing.
Yes, 100%.
And since this was Katie's question, I'm going to jump in as well. One of my favorite personal interactions was I was in an Uber, and I was on, if you guys know David Morse, he has an amazing podcast with, I think it's Joe Catrucci out of Arizona, where it's called the All In Real Estate Podcast, I think, but it's All In Podcast. He invited me to be on, and I stupidly agreed to do 7 a.m. on Saturday morning at Family Reunion. So we're all out at I think it was the Dueling Pianos Bar Friday night, and I was like, I gotta go. I got a 7 a.m. podcast. So I got back to my hotel room at 11:30. I was proud of myself. And then I got up to my hotel room and said, oh, my phone is in the Uber. Oh my God. And I had all these amazing photos that day from the KWSE event, Brett, that I put together at the stadium that I was excited to post. And the best KW magic happened where, if you guys know Sheena, I think her last name is Sadam. She's an agent out of DC. Amazing team. They built like this shower truck for the homeless to like give people to get cleaned up for opportunities. She was in my Uber after me at like midnight, saw the phone, and was like, I'm a realtor. I can find this guy. So she went into she somehow unlocked my reminders that I leave myself. And one of them was like, call Audrey Benassi, a KW agent in Florida. She Googles her, calls her at midnight, and is like, I found this phone in an Uber. Do you know whose it is? And she was like, is it Patrick, this bald guy that speaks French? And so anyway, somehow my phone got back to me at like 1 a.m, and it was the best thing in the world. So Katie, great question. Thanks I'd totally forgotten that story, but KW magic that happens at Family Reunion, man. Does anybody else have? Oh yeah, what's up?
Oh, just to add to that, because it's something that popped into my head towards Katie's question, and it was purely like, it did not affect my business. It did not do anything like substantial, and yet like seeing something that I saw on one of the last days of Family Reunion was just really funny, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you know Jeff Glover and Rich Kim's
gosh,
out of Boston.
Yes.
Seeing the two of them singing Closing Time karaoke at the bar on the last day of Family Reunion was just absolutely amazing, and put a really great cap on my week.
And guys, this is where the friendships come. Gary's talking about, Brandon mentioned, getting on a plane to fly to see your friends. We don't just sit here and talk business all the time. Oh yeah, Jev's got the picture. Is that Harjut and Darnell, I think, from that's probably Mango's, isn't it? I think Mango's place. Fun times. Yeah. Anyway, but like it's the memories too. It's me losing my phone in an Uber and someone bringing it back to me. It's watching your friends sing karaoke. We call it Family Reunion for a reason. And so if this is not a sales pitch for YP, we're literally just here to bring value and encourage others who were in similar positions to us. I was thinking about leaving KW. Nothing wrong with KW, but I was thinking about going independent before I came to Family Reunion 2 years ago as a brand new YP member. And it's changed my life. And so I'm here for the long haul. I hope you guys are. And I hope this has been beneficial to you guys. Does anyone have any parting panelists? Do you guys have any parting shots you want to leave with Family Reunion? Any wisdom you got or any tidbits that we didn't mention yet?
I would just say, you just have to really, I think we all kind of touched on it, but like really soak everything in. And like Brandon said this too, you have to learn how to absorb it and implement it in your life. So like I took the plane ride. Also, this is another important tip. Do not take an early morning flight. That was the one thing I did get right. It was at least a little bit later, but it allowed me to stay awake on the flight and actually journal the whole way, right? And like really like absorb it and all that kind of stuff. And then look back at your notes. So my MAPS coach also actually mentioned this. She was like, set up a weekly time or even bi-weekly to read your notes again, particularly from a weekend like this.
Because you got a cracker on you, you know.
What'd you say, Dev?
Tell us about it,
Dev,
Jeff.
you came unmuted. I don't know if that was intentional or not. He's sitting here showing us all his photos, but that's awesome, Harjit. Yeah, like just I've still got my notes from an Atlanta event last year, and I didn't. It's funny because I had like these little notepads. So I was taking all my pages of notes on sticky notes, and then I realized they actually gave us a free journal as part of the event. So I felt silly, but yeah. And looking back over it, what's the point of notes if you never look at them, right? What's the point of a book if it sits on your bookshelf and you never read it? And so I actually forgot my own question. I was going to ask, why should someone go to family reunion? Why should they do YP? You guys just jump in, and I'm glad Katie and Connor are on screen now. Thank you. And if you guys want, by the way, we're going to do a screenshot before. So if you want to come off and turn your camera on for just the very end, so we can get a bunch of faces, maybe Emily or someone can do a screenshot and we can post it on the YP group. So go ahead, Brett.
So honestly, if you've never been to family reunion, or if you've gone to family reunion and not taken full advantage of the opportunity and maybe just spent time with your market center, you just have to experience it. We can tell you all the nuggets that we've taken away. We can tell you the classes we went to. We can tell you the connections that we've made. And until you bite the bullet and take that first step in actually going, you're not going to understand. Yeah. Firsthand experience is what it's really all about. I mean, think of a class that you've taken and you put off taking for weeks or months and knew you had to take it because everybody was like, oh, it's going to change your business. It's going to change your life. It's going to give you a different aspect. And you're like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll get to it eventually. And then you actually take that class and you're like, oh, this is why they told me to do it. Yeah. That's what the family reunion experience is and the mega camp experience is. Yep. So you really just need to dive in and do it. And when it comes to KWYP, it's the only organization that I've been a part of that is a truly you get out what you put in. And if you approach joining KWYP from an abundance mindset, it's going to come back to you tenfold, whether it's in referrals, which is great. And if I never got another referral from KWYP, I would still stay a member because the connections that I've made with the people on this call are literally life-changing.
Bingo. Yep. I mean, I want to talk to people who are building their real estate investing portfolios. And that's so much of what YP Advance is about. It's like a 3-hour wealth building seminar the first morning of family reunion. And someone like Brett, I want to be a resource for him as fatherhood, you know, when he and Katie are struggling late at night. Like, why don't you call me at 1 a.m.? I might not answer, but try at least. And then we can talk the next day. It's about that family. So I love that, Brett. Yeah. Anyone else? Hajat, Brandon, Devaney, why should someone join YP or go to family reunion or mega camp coming up in August?
All of the things, YP, family reunion, and mega camp, it's to say that your eyes are open to a bigger business and a bigger life is an understatement. Yep. With YP in particular, and then with family reunion, I mean, it is like I asked myself when I was sitting in one of the breakout sessions, I was like, how big do I want to blow up my life? Like literally, not like in a bad way, blow it up, but like, you know, like how big can we get and how many people can we serve because of how big our life is? And with YP in particular, it's like, these are young professionals that are so much further along the journey than I am. And so most of them are younger than me. I'm like, the heck? Like you do like, that is amazing. First of all, second of all, like, I love what you're doing. I love that energy. And like, it's just so incredible to see and surround yourself with people who are so like-minded. I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it. I have never been in a room with that many people who are so giving and so open and so helpful and also are helping so many people. Like we're all in a service-based business, and it is absolutely incredible to see the amount of people that we are serving with this young professional group. And then with family reunion and mega camp, I mean, there are just some incredible people in KW. I can say that for a fact. You have to, like what Brett said, you have to go to experience it. Because I was just sitting there with like my jaw open and my mind was like, what is this? This is incredible. I thought I knew what like a big life looked like. I had no idea until this family reunion, truthfully.
Wow. I mean, that alone is, yeah, that's it. Harjot, I saw your comment that you're getting the good family reunion vibes all over again.
I'm like Devaney was like, oh, I'm like getting chills, and I'm like, oh, I want to go back. Plus it was honestly, and I've said this on every call, so I didn't want to say it again, but I will. I haven't had that much fun in like, or party that hard in like so long, like years. It almost felt like going back to college, which is great. But I would say that, I mean, you wouldn't have this many, like as many people on this call all raving about this, like genuinely just trying to get this message across of how fun, inspiring, empowering, all those things it was. None of us are paid to do this. In fact, we all paid to be there and absorb all this, right? So it's like, it is genuine. And I think Brett had mentioned this. You won't understand it until you're in it. So you really just have to kind of take that leap of faith and just put yourself in that environment. You know, in our market centers, you will often find people, like we've heard the phrase, find your tribe for a while, but in your market centers, you'll probably find a few agents who kind of match that, but you're not forming a tribe necessarily. You're forming relationships, but not that tribe. You know, I've tried accountability pods. We've tried, you know, just a bunch of things. And it wasn't until this that I was like, this is tribe, right? It was very clear. You did not have to second guess it. And you won't know how much it transforms you, and everyone transforms in a different way. But it's all very equal in that it does further you into your big why and teaches you what life by design really can mean. And like Devaney said, how big you can actually take it in ways you've never thought of. Yeah. And then there's Jeb, who is just so distracting.
And if you look in the comments, Justin has been mentioning, try it out on a small scale. If you don't want to pay the 800 or $1,000 for a big conference, go to one of these free regional events. Come to Raleigh for our DISC thing on March 29th. I'm not going to go through all the events again, but check the Facebook group. There are always events coming up. And if you're in a place where you don't have a chapter yet, get some like-minded people together, travel to one of those events so you guys catch the bug together. Launch a KWYP chapter in your market. It's going to change your life. Like, you're going to be the small group of people who are there, those resources. And it's not just about getting referrals. Like Brett said, if I had to turn off any referral I could ever receive from YP, but I could still be a member, I'd still pay. I'd probably pay double for this group and for the people that I'm around in the mindset. So anyone else parting thoughts? And we're going to do a quick screenshot.
Patrick, go ahead, Harjo.
I was just going to say, if like cost is a factor, totally understand. Ask your market center to sponsor you.
Yeah, bingo.
It's an option.
Yeah. And I just want to make a comment on what Harjo brought up, just because she mentioned life by design. Yeah. And there was something that I wrote down from Jason's session, and it literally is, there's two ways to live life. And those two ways are you get what you get, or you design what you get. And KWYP is the best way that I have found to design what I get, because I get to R&D or rip off and duplicate, which is essentially what our business is made of, from some of the highest thinkers in our industry.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
No, man. All right. I'll just add a little tidbit. They really just like clap up to like all these amazing people. Brett, you had Hajat. Am I pronouncing your name right? I just want to, is it? Yes. I don't want to.
It's Harjot. Thank you, Brandon.
Okay. Devaney, they are just such an amazing amount of people and just had so many mic drops. But for me, anybody who's on the fence about joining YP or going to family reunion or making camp, just do yourself. If you believe that, if you just have a mustard seed amount of faith in your own self, do your favor and invest in yourself. To be able to be part of this community of such great thinkers, it has really and truly changed the trajectory of my life. And I am totally, come on, invest in yourself. You better invest in yourself and just make that time commitment, because the monetary, like you said, it's great. A lot of people come to family or come to YP or join for the referral opportunities, but really what makes us stick and stay is the relationships that you gather and that you get from this amazing community. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, you guys, for I'm just grateful for everybody and to be on this panel with some amazing people, human beings. You're great. And Connor.
I love it. Yeah, amazing human being
I
and
just want to
Connor.
say some. I'm sorry, I didn't have the fortunate pleasure to meet you, Brandon. However, like hearing you speak right now, you sound like someone I definitely need to speak with, and probably add to my top 5. So, thank you for pouring into us, and appreciate everybody pouring into each other and having us here. We were elected, a few of us on our team, to do a team meeting for our brokerage for family reunion takeaways and ahas. So I'm getting some tips from you all too, and I'm going to share that KWYP love for our brokerage. So appreciate everybody, and for sure, like whoever I did get to meet mega camp, Brandon specifically, you're number 1 on the list. I would love to see you all there, and I will be in San Diego next week or the next couple weeks for the launch, and then we'll see what they got in April. River City's in the house. Keep sending them, San Antonio. You know you
Love
love us. Harjo.
All right, guys, go ahead and come on video if you want to be in the screenshot, and I'll do my parting announcements. Our next KWYP Triangle, Coffee with Omega, we're going to be interviewing Catherine Rain Thursday morning at 8:30 Eastern. We usually do these 8:30 to 9:30 because it's Coffee with Omega, kind of a morning kickstart. That's going to be Thursday, April 7th. So please log on to that. It's all free. Anyone, YP or not, KW or not, can come because we just want to add value, abundance mindset. So can someone take a screenshot here and come off your screen, and will someone post this in the group for me and tag folks, and we'll post it. Awesome. Thank you guys for coming. I hope someone's screenshotting it. All right. See you guys later. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you guys. Y'all are the best.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.